Chad, did you know that it is required by law that any financed motor vehicle has to be insured?
Yeah, I can believe that, because I would think that if you can't afford to pay for the vehicle outright and you have to finance it, you can't afford to replace it. So the bank wants to just look after their investment.
Just make sure they're protecting their asset. Now, one of the questions that we get quite often here at Ask Auto Trader is, what are the different types of insurances and what do they actually cover? In our last video, we covered comprehensive car insurance. This time the question is, well, what is third-party fire and theft and what does it cover? Chad, what does third-party fire and theft actually cover?
Well, this is a rundown from comprehensive insurance, and it's going to cover, well, in essence, everybody else.
Okay.
But not your vehicle in the event of an accident. So let's give an example here. If I had to bump into you, and I've got the third-party fire and theft, it'll pay for the damages to your vehicle, but it's not going to pay for the damages to mine.
So they're going to write your car off?
Not necessarily. If you have the means to repair it yourself, you know, you're allowed to do that, and you can do that. And that's where it comes in, that it's generally accepted that it'll go for vehicles that are under 150,000 Rand in terms of market value and older than 5 or 10 years old. That's where they recommend third-party fire and theft. What it's also going to cover, though, is if I lose the vehicle to a fire, if there's an electrical fire or something of the sort and it becomes a smouldering mess, they will pay it out. And once again, depending on the policy, it'll either be for market value or replacement value. And once again, if it is stolen, then they will replace it. But if it is written off in an accident, it's a complete loss, and that's going to rest on the onus of, well, whoever's got that third-party fire and theft insurance.
So one of the things that I did a little bit of research around this, and one of the things I found out was, of course, the value of the vehicle, so 150,000 Rand or older than 5 years. And then the other thing is that with third-party fire and theft, they generally don't cover a lot of the acts of God that you would find under comprehensive. So they won't cover hail damage, they won't cover flooding, they won't cover a tree falling on your car during a storm.
Correct.
Anything of that nature. So these are things that you can add onto your policy.
It's going to push your premium up a little, though.
Very much so. But at the end of the day, I think, but whether it be comprehensive or third party, it's just best to be insured. You just never know.
Absolutely.
You know, it is required by law that if you have a financed vehicle, it has to be insured because, well, you don't want to be held responsible for something that you no longer have, and the banks will hold you responsible.
Now, trust me, it is most definitely worth it. And you can understand that if you're driving an older vehicle, you want to take out a third-party fire and theft, you don't really, or you can't really justify paying the full replacement premium, but fully comprehensive is still the best way to go. It may seem like a little bit of a loss, a bit of a drag, a bit of a grudge purchase, but at the end of the day, in the event that something does happen, you're going to thank your stars that you actually did have comprehensive insurance.
Before we go, I would just like to add this, and this is another thing that I found out during the research, and that is that quite often the cost difference between a comprehensive policy and a third-party fire and theft policy is actually it's
not that much.
Minimal.
It's minimal.
Because so many people opt for the third-party fire and theft, and it chases up the premiums and the costs involved.
Absolutely.
You know, I would say at the best, if you can afford that extra 50 to 150 Rand, take out a comprehensive policy. You just can't go wrong.
If you're thinking of that, and here's a little bit of advice, and you're wanting to go from a third-party fire and theft and you would like to upgrade it to a comprehensive, chat to your broker, chat to your insurance. See if you can structure a deal that will keep your premium roughly the same and maybe just add a little bit to the excess. Yes, you're going to need to put some money away for that excess in the event that something does happen, but if you're not prone to accidents, it's not a bad idea to have a slightly higher excess with some money saved for it and keep your monthly premiums down.
Well, thank you very much, Chad. Well, there you go, folks. All answered about comprehensive and third-party fire and theft car insurance.